Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Good Morning Brownsville. My name is Frankie. Today, we'll be talking about a very interesting topic that has been transpiring as of late. Violence is never the answer. Joining us today is Roman Perez. Good morning, Roman.
Good morning.
Again, today is it's been a very eventful few days, Roman, to say the least. What happened in North Carolina made national news, and it pretty much put to the forefront this idea of violence. Yesterday, unfortunately, we had tragic events in Colorado. There was a school shooting. There was some fatalities, if I'm not mistaken, and also the story that captivated the world was the event in Utah. What's To begin with, Roman? What are your thoughts in regards to what happened yesterday?
Um, I I I think that there are a lot of people on the conservative side, particularly the younger conservative side, that are in a lot of pain, and hurting because of what happened with Charlie Kirk, and a guy who for wanted just to debate people and wanted to just have discussions with people. And I obviously I didn't know Charlie, but I know people that did know Charlie, and to listen to them yesterday talk to me eh, with tears in their eyes, crying. First when we thought that well he might still be alive, and then when he found out he was dead, it was heartbreaking for me to hear, and then to see some people that were celebrating it was even more disgusting. So there's just a lot of annoyance on the right towards crazy people on the left, but at the same time it's not just mere annoyance, it's anger. It's the idea that the left has no soul, and they are lost. And after what the president said last night in the Oval Office, it's clear to me that the left is about to understand what it is to have power and is going to go after these terrorists that are in our midst. And coinciding with 9/11, when we had Islamic terrorists attack our country the way they did, trying to silence and put fear into the hearts and minds of Americans, whoever this person is that decided to shoot down and kill Charlie Kirk, I think has caused what people are calling a turning point in American history, at least from the conservative side, and saying enough is enough. And conservatives are not violent. I'm not saying that there's going to be any violence in retaliation. It's just going to be, I think, government and law enforcement going after these terrorist groups that are causing all this violence. And I think we have a lot to talk about today. And so hopefully you all will be part of the conversation and tell us what you think, especially even if you're not a conservative. I'd like to hear what you think. If you think it's okay for leftists to do the things that they're doing, saying the things that they're doing, and I think we can talk a little bit about history of you know political violence in our country. I teach history. Um, I think it's important, so hopefully people will talk. I'm not going to be as happy-go-lucky because I'm actually kind of upset and angry because somebody like myself and you, Frankie, um, and Erasmo, we like to debate, we like to argue, we like to have conversations with people, but it's never violent. And to see some people, even yesterday, say, well, Charlie had it coming because he said some really horrible, nasty things. And I'm just like, well, I don't think he said some horrible, nasty things. I think he was trying to say truth and have conversations, whether he agreed with you or not, but he was a happy person. And if you think that about Charlie, that he deserved this somehow or he had it coming, then you probably think that people like me and Frankie and Erasmo, who say some things that may not be nice about what's happening in politics locally or even nationally, if you disagree with it, do you think that it's okay to come and shoot us and kill us because you don't agree with us? And I'm sorry, that's to use a word from Congressman Chente Gonzalez that he used there, that's bullshit. And it's just insanity on your part if you think that people that want to have conversations and come to the marketplace of ideas, if you think that person deserves to be shot and killed because you don't agree with them, bullshit. Go fuck yourself. And I'm sorry to use that kind of language, but that's just not the American way. That's not what we are in America. And I'm shocked and dismayed that there are actual people that I consider friends who actually think this stuff, who think that it's that Charlie Kirk deserved this or had it coming because he said uncomfortable things.
Yeah, yesterday was a difficult day, and people, I guess people stated, "Oh, you you highlight Charlie, but you don't talk about the school shootings, and it's an outrage for something like this to happen to Charlie, but not the kids." Again, violence is never the issue. We don't want for that message to be misconstrued that one person is better than the other. It just so happened that the Charlie thing was, we saw it, Roman. There was people recording. We saw that tragic set of events. It was very real. Not that we do not care about those kids in Colorado, and there should be outrage, and ultimately this is going to lead to a bigger discussion in regards to gun control. It's unfathomable for me to really listen to people celebrate and rejoice. Look, I believe in the First and Second Amendment of our Constitution. I believe that everyone has an opinion and we should express ourselves however we feel without the fear of being attacked, retaliated against. Again, it's okay to disagree, ladies and gentlemen. I can give you my point of views, you can give me your point of views. But for people um to be inconsiderate, to have no empathy, again, a wife lost a husband, two baby girls lost their father. No matter what Charlie believed in, at the end of the day, he's not going home. And look, this puts everything into perspective. I never looked at it the way you said it, Roman, and you just mentioned it right now that hey, we're outspoken, we stick our necks out there, we talk about things that are kind of difficult to talk about, but at the end of the day, we take on this role. It's unfortunate that people have resorted to this type of rhetoric, to this type of celebration in light of what happened. Unfortunately, the world is just getting we're going from bad to worse. It seems as if someone, and look, say what you want about Charlie, say what you want about him. What I liked about him was that he was willing to have those difficult discussions, Roman, and more importantly, with the youth, with those his whole mission was to rally the youth movement. Many people attribute him and others, helping President Trump, helping that movement. And for that, they've been called, fascists. They've been called bigots. Again, whatever you think, whatever political ideology, whatever platform, whatever side of the aisle, left or right or in the middle, this is not the answer. And it's important for us to recognize that we are starting to see a trend, Roman, that if I don't believe with what you say, Roman, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to take action against you. It shouldn't be that way. I saw something very interesting where they said they couldn't beat him in a debate. So they resorted to this. And again, he openly talked about um, the Second Amendment. And look, everybody was posting on the page, oh, you see, mess around and find out FAFO, he got what he had coming. And then I said, so what? You wish ill will on someone because he had certain beliefs? And I want to talk about that, in more detail, more into the program. But it's sad, Roman. It's sad that we're living in a world where nobody's gonna want to have this open dialogue no more. Nobody's gonna want to um, press that that needle, stretch the envelope and say, "Hey, we do need to talk about these very important issues in regards to the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. Is there something going on with the trans movement? Are they being radicalized? Are they taking action against children, against schools? Why is it? Why is it that we're not able to speak our mind? And look, first and foremost, I personally, I do not want something for what happened to Charlie Kirk to happen to me. Will this change my approach? No, it's not going to change me. At the end of the day, Charlie did what he loved and he died doing what he loved. If that's destiny, so be it. People need to realize that, hey, he fought for something, he believed in it, and ultimately he died for it.
Mm.
It's just a very troubling set of events that happened these past few days, Roman, and then today with September 11th, it kind of culminates into this just feeling for me.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not going to sit around here and pretend that I knew everything about Charlie Kirk. I didn't. I'm not going to be here and say, man, that guy was the greatest debater in the history of the world or whatever. I'm not saying that. I knew enough about him to respect him and respect what he was doing with young conservatives and the younger generation. I knew enough about him to know that he was a nerdy looking guy who had a smoking hot wife, cute looking children, was a family man, was 31 years old, and had been working in politics for 10 years and started an organization that people laughed at. And then he turned it into what thousands of people coming to watch him debate people. And I, again, I didn't watch him every day, I didn't listen to him every day. But I don't think, even in the clips I've seen of him or over the last several years, I never saw him say any hurtful things or nasty things. He predominantly was using morality and truth and asking questions. He'd go debate people, and he had fun doing it. There was a video of him, it was maybe 40 seconds, of him with this lady, him sitting in front of, I don't know, at some school. It's kind of semi dark. The video was not dark in spirit, but just dark in look. It wasn't the greatest looking video. And a lady asked him, why are you doing this? Like, what's wrong with you? And he's just like, well, you know, when discourse ends, civil war begins. And I'm just here to talk to people. I want to be able to talk with the other side and whether I agree with you or not. And that's the thing that he wanted to do. He was doing things that no one else in the conservative movement was really doing. He was going to college campuses and talking to younger kids. And he was trying to engage them and talk about to them that there's more to life than going and learning about books or whatever in the classroom, that it's okay to have a family. I think that's a great thing. I think it's an exciting thing that he was doing. He started small and it became big, became national, to the point that one of his best friends was Donald Trump Jr. President Trump is not going to posthumously give him the Medal of Freedom. It's just, the guy was, look at him. Like, I remarked to a friend of mine that sometimes when he smiled, he looked like Beavis, like Butthead from Beavis and Butthead without braces. I mean, the guy was just a normal looking guy. Nothing spectacular about him, but he wanted to debate you. And I take my personal connection to him is that I just love debate. I love arguing with people, and I love being friends with people who I argue with. I have friends, personal friends of mine, Facebook friends of mine, that I know personally. They're not like my best friends or anything, but I know them personally, and they say some nasty, horrible things about me, and I love it. I don't like them to think nasty things about me, but we have debates, and I let them go at it. You can do it. I have so many conservative friends who say, "I can't believe you're friends with them," and I have liberal friends, "I can't believe you're friends with them." Well, like, obviously they can because I'm a conservative, but I enjoy that, and so I have that. I feel like that connection to Charlie in that way. To see people crying, I mean, the reaction video of Melian Kelly and Glenn Beck crying, he touched so many people in that area and they had such a good time. He was a Protestant and he would debate Catholics. I made this comment to somebody, I don't know where. I mean, he'd lose because he's a Protestant. I'm Catholic, so I took the Catholic side, obviously. He didn't have a problem. He was scheduled to be on with Bishop Barron on his program, Bishop Barron Presents, in 10 days. He communicated, he texted with bishops, and on the Catholic side, he just wanted to learn. And for that, they took him away. And that's shocking and wrong. And I believe there are people out there that have said, oh, this is like the most important assassination, political assassination in our country since MLK. I'm not going to go that far. Um, but I will say that I think this is the the most recent political assassination I can think of happened a few months after MLK. It's when Senator Robert Kennedy Jr. I mean Senator Robert Kennedy the senior, RFK, the brother to John F.K. when he was murdered. That this feels like that because he was leading a movement and he could very easily have been the Democratic nominee in 1968, and he was gunned down by some rando person in California. And that's what I think this is more like it. I'm just still in shock that I've said this to numerous people. Charlie Kirk is to this current young generation that Rush Limbaugh was to me and my generation.
Hmm.
That is what Charlie was. I can't imagine being a young person right now, 25, 30 years ago, and learning, or 35 years ago, really, and learning that Rush Limbaugh was assassinated. That's how big I think this is to young
Wow.
conservatives. And I don't think Democrats or liberal Democrats or leftists really understand. And some of the things that they're out there claiming, oh, we just test political violence, which is, I'm glad that they're saying it, but I don't think they understand, or maybe they do and they're just being callous and they're just doing this for show. I don't think they really understand what their statements have done for people on the left. And seeing some of these individuals on TikTok posting their videos excited, happy, and celebrating that this guy died just because he didn't think that a man can be a woman or a woman can be a man. And people are just up in arms because of that. And they still can't find the killer. It's shocking. I'm sorry I rambled. I don't think I rambled on too much. I have a point. I think that's my point. It's just
Nah,
there's so
speak your
much.
mind, brother. Speak your
Yeah.
mind. That's why we're here. That's why we're here to again, it's unfortunate. This was a family man, a conservative man who did preach about God. Um, I hope I hope this doesn't sound mean, but it seems as if the ideal family conservative with conservative values, it seems as if that is being under attack. He was against um, he did speak openly about what you just said about, a man's a man, a woman's a woman. And that's the way God created everyone. It's unfathomable to even think of people rejoicing in this time. And the crazy thing about all this, Roman, is you just mentioned it, that we still don't know who killed him. There was video of someone on a roof when shots rang out. That there was these images of someone leaving the roof. They
Mhm.
did detain, I believe, two people throughout the course, shortly after, and when they started investigating this assassination, and ultimately the FBI said we had to let them go. This leads me to believe, Roman, that this is possibly, I don't know, a foreign government. Maybe they wanted to send a message to President Trump because again, Charlie Kirk was one of his closest. Well, I don't want to say closest, but one of his allies. And look what happened, a little over a year ago at Butler, Pennsylvania. They almost took out the presidential candidate. We have seen, Roman, how these types of violence, this type of um, is being condoned by the left. And look, I'm not here to say that it's the left's fault. I'm not here to say, the Democrats. To be honest with you, we don't know who it was. Many people are saying, I stayed up late last night, Roman, preparing for today, just reading stuff and trying to get my mind right for today. And many people are alluding to the fact of what if this is a foreign government, a foreign entity that wants to cause civil unrest? Because right now, the way we have it is the right is upset. The right, and look, the difference between what I've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, Chet, the difference that I've seen between the right and the left is that the left is always quick to protest. What happened with George Floyd? They have monuments and they have this and they have that. I don't think the right's going to be doing that. They're going to mourn him and they're going to remember him and try to revere and try. They're going to try and find someone to fulfill his legacy, to move on forward. But at the end of the day, it just leads me to believe that this is something big. If you mean to tell me that a university, Roman, that I would think has multiple, and look, he had a security team out there, but nobody knows who it was. There wasn't cameras around at a university where thousands of students go, where thousands of students are. It's just very shocking. Many people are alluding to the fact of this possibly being an inside job. Many people are alluding to the fact of, Trump wanted this because of the Epstein files, and they're getting closer to Trump, and he needs to divert attention. It's kind of crazy, but again, everyone's entitled to their opinion, right? That's what the First Amendment is all about. But it's just very shocking. It is very shocking. And if they don't find someone, also, there's also alluding to the fact, Roman, I don't know if you caught on to this, where they're saying that a plane left shortly after, shots rang out, and they turned off their radar, which was, suspicious. But it just goes to show that nobody deserved this. Again, no matter what you believe in, no matter your political ideology, nobody deserves this at the end of the day.
Well, Utah DPS right now are claiming that they have found the weapon. It's in a wooded area. That they're tracking down the gunman. They have a good video, but they're not going to release it, which I think it's a little bit troubling that they won't release the video so that they can help, so we can look for him and people might know who he is. But they're not doing that. That's what the FBI is. That is what the Fox News is reporting right now. And they apparently he blended in with the people that were scurrying around, and they have video of them. So there is video out there. They just haven't released it. And I think they should release it so that we can see who he is. I'm assuming it's a guy, because they keep referring to the gunman and a gunwoman. So I think that people need to help and find out. So maybe they should release it, but who knows? As far as some of the conspiracy theories going out there right now, I don't think it's appropriate right now to really talk about those in detail. But you can. I think it is okay to talk about the political violence in American history and in global history and Western civilization. You can talk about things that happened in the 19th century with the anarchist movement and what they were doing, and many leftist organizations were doing. I say organization, but it's not. It wasn't like they had a big old meeting and we're going to do this. But you had anarchists and leftists trying to instill civil unrest in various countries. We had William McKinley, president, be assassinated. We had Andrew Garfield, president, be assassinated. We've had people kill, Archduke Ferdinand that started the World War I, which is crazy. So we have had these kinds of moments in history. But one of the things that I want to remind people is that there was a point in time when people in Western civilization believed that you couldn't necessarily harm or hurt or touch a real big, legitimate political leader, whether it's a president of a country or a monarch or whatever. So what some of these crazies would do in some of these countries, they thought, well, we won't go after them individually to scare them and scare the civilization or the country. We'll go after the peripheral, the people that are near them or around them. They're softer targets and go after them in order to stoke fear into the civilization. And this has happened. And I'm not saying that this is happening now, but I mean, just a year ago, you had an individual I still don't know anything about that tried to assassinate a presidential candidate, a former president, in Donald Trump in Butler. And then a month or two later, another individual was hiding out at a golf course randomly. Nobody found him until a few minutes before he could have assassinated, again, then presidential candidate and former president Donald Trump. And that's insane that happened. And it seems to me, without any actual hardcore evidence of the first guy, but definitely with I think with the second guy, it was politically motivated for whatever their beliefs are versus, President Trump. Do I have any evidence to say that right now the person that did this to Charlie Kirk is an absolute leftist? No, but I'm going to assume it because I think it's the likely thing, considering some of the things that Charlie Kirk would say. I mean, he died while talking about transgender mass shootings and how they're targeting kids. That's what he was talking about. And he gets killed. And, you have this quote from this person: live by the sword, fuck fascists, fuck Nazis, fuck bigots. That's what this guy, person, whatever that is, said. And they think it's okay to kill people. What's funny about the left and this person and people like this person is they don't understand what the Second Amendment is all about. It's not about killing people. It's never been about killing people. It's about securing the First Amendment. It is the right. The founding fathers, when they created the Declaration of Independence, they talked about the right of people to use violence to revolt against a despot. They were classical liberals, not liberals right now, but classical liberals. They believed this, and they were right in that if somebody is so egregious towards the people, the way that King George III was, and they used the examples, and you can go read it yourself. It's very readable. You can understand it. They felt that you had a right to be able to revolt against said leader, said monarch. And they slowly thereafter, in 1787, when they had the Constitutional Convention, they had these discussions, but they didn't include that in the Constitution. Instead, they created a Bill of Rights. And in those Bill of Rights, those were amendments to the Constitution. And there were actual debate about whether or not these amendments were worthy of keeping it or putting it in the Constitution, because they felt that these rights were already instilled in the Constitution. There were people that believed this. They had debate and argument. Nobody died over it. But ultimately, these Bill of Rights were created and included in the Constitution and approved by the states. And it included the Second Amendment because again, they were coming from a period where they understood that if the government was not doing its job and being malicious towards the people, again, I encourage you to read the Declaration of Independence so you understand what their grievances were. They wanted to make sure that the people had a right to bear arms. They had a right to be able to have these things just in case they needed it for political, because of a despot, because of a mean, disgusting government. Again, that's why it's there. It's not so you can go hunting, although it is part of it, because again, they understood that people lived out in life and they may need a gun to be able to kill an animal to eat, to sustain. So it's not like for sports hunting, it's for hunting to be able to eat, to feed, sustenance. That's why it's there. And if you all don't understand that, that's the fault of the school system, or either that or you just don't want to understand. And I feel right now that some of these leftists that are on TikTok, that are on social media, that are just celebrating this stuff, that don't understand this. And it's not because they're stupid, although you can think that. It because they don't know. And for all of these same liberals that are like, oh, live in a Pollyanna world and everything's, unicorns and rainbows and everything's great. It's not. That's not life. But they live this stuff. They're like, we shouldn't have violence. We should have guns. And they're saying the things that they're saying now. So anyway, so I just hope that you all understand that there's so much going on in this country. I had people upset yesterday because of, well, we're not talking about the school shooting, and we're only talking about Charlie Kirk. It's because political assassination isn't an everyday occurrence, and having a person that is so close to the president when we are, some people believe, at a tipping point. When you have violence like we did in the 1960s, this is kind of an important thing. I'm not saying that a school shooting is not important. I'm not saying that at all. But this is a little bit bigger. When 9/11 happened, the country, stopped for days and days and days. Things happened in that time period. We had the Isabella Causeway fall down. We remember it, but the rest of the country doesn't. People died because of that, but people were talking about one thing, September 11th. And if you don't understand, that's why we're talking about Charlie Kirk and not necessarily going into great detail into a school shooting that happened, a few hours later, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, a lot of people were celebrating. We're saying, oh, he said that death, unfortunately, is worth keeping the Second Amendment. And I wanted to play that, and I want to talk about this a little bit in detail, Roman, because what I hate, what hate is a strong word. What I dislike about people is they only get a clip of it. Aha, and they want that got you moment. Aha, you see, he got what he deserved. He believed in this. So why are you praising him? Why are you saying that this is an outrage? Again, he didn't say that, he didn't condone gun violence. At the end of the day, and look, I'll play it for the community so they can see for themselves.
Now, we must also be real. We must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price. And that is part of liberty. Driving comes with a price. 50,000 people die on the road every year. That's a price. You get rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities. But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth the cost of 50,000 people dying on the road. Wow. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. Right. You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, yes, by having more armed guards in front of schools. Yes. Yes. We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. So then how do you reduce? Very simple. People say, oh, Charlie, how do you stop school shootings? I don't know. How did we stop shootings at baseball games? Because we have armed guards outside of baseball games. That's why. How did we stop all the shootings at airports? We have armed guards outside of airports. How do we stop all the shootings at banks? We have armed guards outside of banks. How do we stop all the shootings at gun shows? Notice there's not a lot of mass shootings at gun shows. There's all these guns because everyone's armed.
Again, what happened yesterday is appalling. And what I find even more appalling, Roman, is that people were twisting what he said.
Mhm.
People were using 15, 20 seconds of what he said to try and vilify him, to try and say, fucker, mess around and find out. FAFO. He got what you see? Why are you praising him? Why are you saying that there's an outrage? Ultimately, he got what he deserved. People were saying it without saying it. And I said, say it. No. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm just stating facts. No, they're twisting what he was talking about. He never said that it was okay to take a life. He never said for you to shoot someone. He said that we're never going to get rid of these gun violence, these deaths that are attributed to gun violence. Is never going to go down to zero. At the end of the day, unfortunately, this is our reality in America. And it's not possible with an armed society. And his comments, Roman, from this interview, from this conference, if you will, came after a school shooting that he talked about ways to limit gun violence and protect ourselves and others. Again, living in this great country, we have liberties that we don't want to lose. And we should be able to defend ourselves, protect our family, protect our household. He was shot in cold blood. He didn't see it coming. He wasn't even armed himself. Yes, he had guards and things like that. But this man, at the end of the day, he was no threat to no one. He was a husband. He was a father. He was a son. And I'm sure he was much more to other people. He genuinely cared about America, about people. And all he was doing was keeping our God-given rights in the forefront. That's what bothered me yesterday about people that were posting this. And when I was trying to engage with them, like, oh, what do you mean? Like, speak your mind. Oh, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying what he said. So essentially what you're saying is that he got what he deserved. Again, we live in a great country where we're able to speak our mind. Unfortunately, if you go to third world countries or other countries in general, they don't have the luxury of speaking out against government, speaking out against injustices. We do. Now, is there this idea that everything we say has consequences? Yes, without a doubt. But at the end of the day, it's wrong. It's wrong to use violence to a person that was simply stating his beliefs. He was a conservative man. So I have a big problem with people that essentially were using 15 seconds of that clip, 20 seconds of that clip and said, you see, he was willing to let a few deaths happen in order for us to keep the Second Amendment. Again, he spoke about drivers. So what? There are over 50,000 deaths in the U.S. each year. We're going to take away people's cars? Is that what you're saying? No, that's the reality. He believed in the Second Amendment. He believed in protecting our household. He believed in arming ourselves. That's the beauty of living in America, Roman.
Yeah, well said. I think it's important that people don't take words out of context. And, that's what leftists like to say, oh, you're taking me out of context. And that's exactly what they're doing with Charlie in that quote that Antonio just reiterated. And I think that people can easily splice words that, me or you or Erasmo, and I keep bringing up Erasmo because Erasmo was crazy out there, right? I mean, he said some crazy things. I had conversations with him, many conversations. Like, dude, like, you don't want to settle down a little bit there. You're gonna get yourself, killed. That's okay. I'm okay. I don't care. That because that was Erasmo. I'm not gonna lie and tell you that, that I haven't been fearful because I have views that some people may not agree with. And, I have a family, I have kids, but at no point in time that I shouldn't say I'm fearful. My family had been fearful. Like, you say something like, hey, Roman, maybe you don't want to say those things, whether they're true or not. Maybe you shouldn't. But I say it anyway because I'm not scared of being murdered by some crazy ass leftist that might have murdered me because they don't agree that I think a man shouldn't dress like a woman and a woman shouldn't dress like a man, because I don't think that's real. That's mental illness, because I believe that. I've never once thought that I'd be murdered for it. And I know that, Antonio has said, I saw that because, again, you can see some of the things that people are writing underneath me to my left on there, saying that, we're talking about Charlie because we want clicks or views. No, I was saying that I've seen people online that are criticizing people that are talking about Charlie on my newsfeed. My newsfeed is covered with people saying things about Charlie. And there are people that don't agree with Charlie that are saying, why is my newsfeed or their newsfeed being filled with people talking about Charlie? Let's talk about this instead. So I'm not talking about views or clicks or anything like that. It's just, we're talking about this because it's the news of the day. I actually thought today we were going to talk about BISD. I think that was the plan, Frankie, when we talked about yesterday. Hey, what do you want to talk about? Oh, I guess we'll talk a little bit about BISD, the bond. We're going to talk about the recycling tax. And instead, we're talking about Charlie Kirk, a political leader within the conservative movement, being assassinated, because that's what the news is. And I think it's important because the Valley, and I'm not putting words into Frankie's mouth, but I'm sure he would agree with me, that the Valley is very conservative. May not be completely Republican, but it's conservative. And I think that this podcast that Frankie is taking over and doing, you don't think that if Erasmo were around, that Erasmo wouldn't be talking about this today? Do you think he'd be doing it for clicks? Of course not. He'd be talking about it because the news of the day and people are affected. And I can't tell you the number of people that I called yesterday that are young conservatives. And I said, look, I'm here to listen. Are you okay? I'm a dad, not a young person anymore. And I want to care for my friends who are young conservatives. And so I posted on my personal page for other people who are my age, hey, if you know a young conservative, check in on them. See how they're doing. Because he left a lasting impression on people. There was a TPUSA organization at the UTRGV campus, by the way, tomorrow night on Friday night at 6 o'clock at UTRGV. They're going to have a candlelight vigil for Charlie, because whether the leftists in our community like it or not, the Democrats in our community like it or not, there are conservatives that live here, and people are hurting because of what happened to this man. And I think we have every right to discuss it, not for clicks, but so that people have an opportunity to discuss. And again, come into the marketplace of ideas. The marketplace of ideas is something very, very important. And people have to understand that when we come together as a community, we will have uncomfortable conversations. And it's okay to disagree. You shouldn't disagree with me because I'm always right. But, that's just me. That's what it is.
Well, this is
And by the way, I'm not crying. Have you seen any tears coming out of my no, I haven't shed a single tear for the man because I don't know him. Didn't know him. But there are people that I know that did, and I care for them.
Again, this is very real, because what happened? What was it? A few months ago, at McAllen, there was somebody that ended up shooting the border patrol station that is right next to the McAllen airport. We later find out that this individual, because of the ICE raids, ended up, shooting at federal agents. So this is very real. People's ideology and them taking that anger that they have and doing something about it is very real. And we come before you. We talk about very important issues. Yesterday, I was being accused of of passing misinformation. Oh, you get called off for misinformation. I said, what? A parent who has a special needs child who has genuine concerns? That's misinformation? Really? It's because we I guess I walk that fine line, Roman, and I post things that bothers people. Heck, I got a call yesterday from one of my clients and said, "Hey, that happens to be my daughter. You spoke about her." I was like, "Well, that's a topic of conversation. She's accused of doing something that is questionable. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to cover my mouth, not talk about it? No. Again, we've made it our mission, ladies and gentlemen. We made it our mission to talk about those important issues that are important to our everyday lives. You may not relate something that happened in the state of Utah to Charlie, but I can relate to it because, again, I come before you Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Who's to say that somebody who doesn't agree with me, who thinks that I offended them, will take out their actions, their anger against me? Again, is that going to affect my approach? Is that going to affect the way I carry myself? No, it's not. At the end of the day, if that's God's will, so be it. I think living with courage is a very brave thing. That's what Charlie did. That's what many people did. They stand on their conviction. They stand on their beliefs. And we shouldn't live in fear. I think that is what we are seeing from this. Now, again, we do not know who is behind this. It's still early to say and blame the left and say, y'all took out someone who was a conservative. Y'all took out someone from the right that was an up and coming star. We can't say that yet, and it probably won't be the right thing to say. But at the end of the day, that is what we are seeing. We are seeing this act of violence become a norm, while children parents are in fear of their child's safety. Now, just about anyone, Roman, anyone in a public place, they could be taken out. With again, look at the president when he was a presidential candidate. He had the Secret Service. You would think that he would be protected. They almost took him out. Look at Charlie. He had his security in what we would think. Well, now, not so much, right? At one time, I remember they always said, oh, I feel safe at church and I feel safe at school. Now, I don't believe so. Now, I don't believe we could say that with all sincerity. But you would think that at a university, nobody would ever dare do something like this. And it happened. So why are we discussing about this? Again, the likes and the views, that's for another time. This is very important. This is something that happened. And it brings up the question. And that's our job, Roman. Our job is to have this conversation. Maybe something similar to what Charlie did. Maybe not to that extent, but we're having this dialogue. We're having people such as Antonio, Toker, talk about, hey, we're letting you speak about your beliefs. We're having this debate, which should be civil, and we should continue to do so. Because once we stop having these debates, once we live in fear, once we let, to me, that's tyranny. To me, that is totalitarianism. Because at the end of the day, we live in a country where we have rights. We live in a country where we can express ourselves without fear of being killed.
I'd like, Antonio, if you don't mind, one, are you a Christian, and can you define what a Christian is? Because you're saying that Charlie was not a Christian. I take him to be a Christian. Even if he was a Protestant Christian, I still take him to be a Christian. I think there are many people that are Protestant and they have good hearts and they want to be better human beings. I chastise, Erasmo many times, like you're not really a Christian, you're a heretic, or you're going to hell, kind of stuff. But because we're friends, I can, we could say these things to each other. And he'd say he was the greatest pastor in all of Texas, right? So I just wondered, do you believe what are you a Christian, Antonio? And can you define what a Christian is? And then maybe we can discuss that, because I take Charlie to be a Christian, but you're saying he's not. So tell me what is. Um. Oh, there's some. I didn't know what that was saying. It. Yeah, these are some of the comments, and you're okay to do it. Hopefully, Facebook. See, that's the difference. Hopefully, Facebook and YouTube don't take us down. So hopefully, for some of the things that y'all are saying, but some of the videos out there. Have you seen some of the videos of these people celebrating and going, "Yay"? I think you played a few of them. Do you have the audio for some of these things? I think
Yes,
Liv. Yeah, let's play a couple of them so y'all can.
I could
So
play
those
it.
some of you that can understand that people are celebrating and totally okay with it. So let's play some of those videos. That's some of that video that he has. This is one of them. There's no audio there. Yeah.
As of right now, I think his condition is unknown. And there are a lot of people that are like, no matter what side of politics you're on, you should never celebrate something bad happening to someone. I, on the other hand, do cheer when bad things happen to bad people. So on behalf of everybody else, I got this shit. I don't know if he's going to make a recovery or not. I don't know what his condition is. It just happened as I'm filming this. I saw the video of it happening. I do not feel bad for him in the slightest. And I'm very, very much wondering what MAGA is going to react with. I wonder how they're going to make this about how Black people shouldn't be allowed guns, or trans people. They're probably going to blame a trans Black person. I don't fuck. But we can all celebrate because something really awful happened to a really, really awful guy. And again, if you're one of those dipshit people that are like, no matter what happens, you should never wish death on someone. I'm going to cheer and dance and sing. Thank you very much.
I think you have a right to do that. I also think that it's a right for me to say you're a fucking skanky bitch, but that's just me because the way you dressed. I mean, I think if you want to say those things, you're more than welcome to celebrate the man's death. It just makes you look stupid and dumb. And there's the whole 80-20 thing. You're probably not even part of the 20, but let's say you are. 80% of the country thinks you're an idiot. I think it's insane that people do that, but hey, it's your right to be crazy like that, to dress the way you dress, to celebrate the fact that somebody you think was a bad person, oh my God, he wanted to debate you. And that makes him a bad person. He had thoughts. That makes him a bad person. But you think it? I'm curious, since this person's probably a communist. Do you think it was okay for Stalin, who was a communist, to have killed millions of people in Russia? Do you think, because that's violence, he was kind of a bad man, or do you not think he was a bad man? Because that's not what Charlie was doing. Charlie was having conversations with people and saying things that you may not agree with. Do you think, Mao Zedong was a bad person? He killed a bunch of Chinese people. He was a revolutionary in China, communist. He was a bad person, kill people, or maybe you think he's a revolutionary hero for you, or Che Guevara, or Fidel Castro, or Pol Pot, all these other leaders. I mean, that's not what Charlie was, but you think he was a bad person. I don't even think you know what a bad person is. But you know what? I think you're a bad person. That lady person is a bad person for celebrating the death of a person. I think that's a bad person.
Again, we're all entitled to our beliefs, but whenever we rejoice when a family lost their loved one, I think it's heartless. There is a thing called karma in this world, but again, what did he say that hurt people? That he believed a man was a man and a woman was a woman. Hey, that's every Christian, that's every conservative, that's everyone. So essentially what they're saying is that these pastors are radicals. They're saying that these pastors are evil, that these pastors are they're just preaching what they believe. They believe in the word of God. They believe the Bible. They're trying to live their life as they know best according to scripture. Should that be held against them? is a target, Roman, gonna be on every Christian, every Catholic who believes that marriage is between a man and a woman? Again, me personally, I'm of the belief that I respect everyone. I have my beliefs, but I'm not going to, you know, to wish ill will on anyone. They have their beliefs, others have theirs. But the interesting thing, Roman, is that this opens up the discussion to that. So we're saying that this young man who was a conservative, who taught, who believed in family values of procreating, that this is bad, that he was, you know, he discriminated against people, how Garza says in his comments. Because whenever we look in recent time, Roman, it seems as if our society celebrates or focuses on the wrong issues. We glorify someone who was resisting police officers. We glorify someone who had drugs in his system when he was, you know, when he died. But he's made into a martyr. He's made into a saint, compared to a conservative who was talking to the youth. He was revolutionizing the movement of young people to get involved in politics, to have those discussions. It seems as if the media is flipped upside down, in my opinion. It's just very alarming. It's very alarming whenever people start radicalizing and celebrating and saying, "Ha, he got what he deserved." That's very troubling, and it really does bother me.
We should be very bothered. I mean, yesterday we had Congressman Vicente Gonzalez. Couldn't be bothered to say Charlie Kirk's name. Something tells me that he said George Floyd's name a lot, though, in 2020. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but something tells me that he did that. I mean, in crazy nuts. Let's see some of these comments and see what people are saying. You have a right to, I guess, to make your comments, and you're a women and Latina, a minority. Kirk definition of DI is you a minority woman, unless I'm wrong, and you are a man pretending to be a Latina woman. Wait, I'm lost there. I'm a little confused. Frankie, can you explain this to me? Because I'm confused on this. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think he's having a conversation with someone in the chat saying that, you know, she's a woman, she's a Latina, and that, you know, Charlie believed that minorities don't matter. That, you know, that's essentially I think that's what
you know,
he's saying.
And you know, it's interesting you say that. Charlie Kirk said nice, wonderful things about Mayra Flores. I seem to remember him when he endorsed her, when he ran for Congress, talking about the fact that she was the first Mexican-born congresswoman, believed in God, family, country, and, you know, a very American belief, and very proud to have endorsed her and supported her. I'm sure he endorsed and supported a lot of other people, but she's a Latina, she's a woman. He didn't hate her. He endorsed her, supported her, which is nuts.
Yeah, he also said this about women. Let me bring it up.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, you as women should want to be provided for. In fact, you should have an expectation that you as a woman are so important and so critical and so necessary and beautiful that it shouldn't even be a question.
But see, to me, when I was dating, it would be a huge turnoff if the check comes and she just looks at it and then looks at me and looks at the check.
I totally disagree.
So again, there is this thought that, you know, he was a bigot, that he was, at the end of the day, you know, he said nothing but good things about women. He believed that, you know, he was against the trans movement, but isn't that every Christian? So that's what I don't understand.
Oh no, there are Catholic people that like to wear the rainbow stuff and think it's totally normal and totally okay, and it's sad for them, but there are people like that who believe that. Unfortunately, I disagree with them vehemently.
Hernandez says the thing is that people don't educate themselves on history and start asking AI or go to social media for their answers. Garza says, you're talking about Kirk or for likes and views? Stop lying to yourself. Oh, he said it. He said it was worth it. Again,
Oh,
he died for what he believed in, apparently, and he did what he loved. Now, again, this touched close to home because what we do, it's not very popular. We talk about very delicate issues. Am I going to change my approach? No, by no means. He did say that it was worth it in regards to the Second Amendment. We spoke about it earlier, how the Second Amendment is important. So people will be trying to use gun violence as a way to say, we need to disarm the population. We need to focus on having martial law. We can talk about how, there have been lawless cities in throughout the country, and we have seen the president and the federal government sending the armed forces to cities such as Washington, D.C., to Chicago, to clean up the crime-ridden cities. But ultimately, he died for what he believed in. Miserable, insufferable, baby mama brained, emotionally damaged Betas are the only ones mad at this dude. They know what it is, but they so miserable that it is probably the highlight of their lives. Good morning, Rosas. How's it going? You can't speak about Palestine without being kicked out of college. There has been this wave as of late in regards to Palestine. And who can forget, a couple of days, we saw President Trump. He, along with other cabinet members, they went to a restaurant in Washington, and he had some protesters that had the Palestine flag. Again, that's the reality of life, where people are going to be protesting, and people question, hey, where was the Secret Service? There was a possibility that maybe something could have been done to the president when he was out. Again, we're living in uncertain times, Roman, and it's very scary of what lies ahead.
well, I want to say to respond a little bit to what Toker said, and then I want to tell you a little bit about the phone call I just received.
Sure.
So don't let me forget about the phone call. I want to say something about it. The people that are potentially being kicked out for saying things about Palestine or Israel or the Middle East are individuals who don't live, that are not American citizens. They are in this country. They're on student visas or whatever. They don't necessarily have a right to be able to come into our country, to be able to voice things that necessarily support a terrorist organization. And there's nothing wrong with kicking those individuals out of the country, and they shouldn't be talking about things like this and instigating hate towards Jewish people, Jewish members of our community, of our country. That's ridiculous and wrong. So that's a little bit different. Now I'm all big. I don't know what happened with Frankie. There you are. You okay?
Yeah, you just got to get some water. Again, Roman,
You okay?
Just go with the flow.
Okay. No, I get it. No, get your water. I want to make.
You get a phone call, I step out for a glass of water. It's not
okay.
the end of the world.
Well, here's the no, because usually you left me small. No, the phone call is somebody who's actually going to a TPUSA event in Phoenix, Arizona. Right now, they're on their way to that, and he wanted me to tell you and the chat, to make it clear that people that shouldn't be silenced because of what happened with Charlie, that you should not be fearful of speaking your mind. And he wanted to make sure that Frankie didn't stop speaking his mind. And I said, no, I don't think Frankie's going to stop. It's like, he just wanted me to make sure that you knew, Frankie, that you should be able to go out and speak the word of God and not be fearful of doing anything, because that's not what Charlie would have wanted. And you have a right to be able to do that in this country. So yeah.
Yeah. Again, me personally, Roman, I think this is a two-prong tragic event. I honestly think that it was used in a way to silence someone that was very vocal, someone that was starting to gain millions and millions of followers. And the crazy thing about power, Roman, is once you start getting the youth involved, once you start rallying those, you become very powerful because once you have the youth, you have them for 10, 20, 30 years, and you're able to start your very own movement. And that's something that Charlie did. I think he started getting involved with this Turning Point organization since 2012. So he's been at it for, a little bit over 10 years. And in that short amount of time, he's been able to gather a large following, and people are scared of that. They fear movements. And what do? They try to silence that movement. But what people have been saying is, hey, they think, whoever they think that they're going to silence people. They're going to instill fear in them. I would dare say that it's motivating people. It's this event kind of encouraged people to continue, because whenever we stop talking about these issues, whenever we live in fear, that's when they win. That's when they control. That's when they dictate our lives. And again, for the record, I love my life. I have a lot to look forward to. But if God were to decide that my time is done, my time is done. I am not going to change my approach. I am not going to change my rhetoric. Again, I've had people such as Carlos Elizondo, a school board member, threaten me. I have had Farley Trevino threaten me with a lawsuit. These people think that intimidation, that trying to intimidate me is going to make me go into a corner and cry and moan and bitch. No, what these people don't understand is this stuff like this just only fuels our fire, because we know we are convinced that things like this gives us reason to move on and gives us reason to say we're onto something right, because it's difficult whenever you ruffle feathers. It's difficult whenever you talk about those important issues that it bothers people. Look at all these schools, look at all these injustices that we've been talking about at the school district, and look at our videos that we have. Those are probably the highest viewed videos that we have whenever we speak about this, because they're genuinely, there's people out there, Roman, that don't have a voice, that don't have this platform, unfortunately, and there is retaliation, there is intimidation. So what do? They come to someone like us, Roman, that we don't mind sharing their story. We don't mind amplifying this and bringing this up to the forefront. Essentially, what we're doing, Roman, we're empowering them. We're empowering their message. We're letting them know that, hey, they're not going to mess with you, and if they do, people are going to know about it. So I'm thankful that you did receive that call, and for that person that did send that message to us and to the community. But hey, life goes on, and this will only show us that we're going to be stronger and more convinced that what we're doing is the right thing.
Yeah, people are there and concerned, and there are very few podcasts do it for showing content spread info. Some do it for the likes and views. Yeah, I don't do anything for likes or views. I come on to Frankie's show whenever, to come on, and I guess tomorrow we talk about sports. I guess we're doing that for likes and views because we had thousands of people watching last week. So I'm like, I guess we're doing that for likes and the views.
And if I could say something in regards to that, whenever we set out on doing anything, and us as human beings, let's talk about our professional careers. Don't we want to be the very best at what we do? At least that's the way I was raised. Hey, if you do something, whether that be sports, academia, professionally, you always want to maximize your abilities, and you always want to do everything to the best of your abilities. And for all that hard work and sacrifice, well, you want to be compensated, right? Who doesn't? I would dare say that 9 out of 10 business owners, if you were to ask them, do you want to grow? Do you want to make more money? Do you want to get more clients? Do you want to get more business? They're going to say, yes, without a doubt. That's the reason why I got into this profession. Same thing with me. Look, I'll make no secret about it. I want to be the very best. I want all of South Texas to tune in to Good Morning Brownsville Monday through Friday, shortly after 9, to stay plugged in. I want that. I'm not going to make a secret about that. So who cares? People say, oh, well, you shouldn't post how many views you get. Why not? I'm proud of the work that we've done. It's unfortunate that to some people, they might not like that, and that's okay. At the end of the day, I don't do this for self-gratification. I do this because of a greater good. Again, people might laugh at me and say, ah, ha, ha, you're an idiot, but that's what I feel. I honestly feel, and look, I think in this short amount of time, what we've been doing, Roman, I think we've done great things, and greater things are on our horizon. I really do feel that we are starting something good, and people are rallying behind this podcast. Maybe we're doing something similar to what Charlie is. Maybe not on that scale, but I was always taught with, if we help out one person, Roman, one person in this world, we're doing something good. Many people might see that and say, oh, that's insignificant. It might be insignificant to them, but if I could change one person's life, to me, I think that I'm doing good in this world.
I think that's a fair say to do that. Fox News is reporting that there are messages that they have found on bullets, on messages that left behind on the weapon that they found. And I wanted to say they found messages. Maybe I misunderstood. They get the cryon left at the scene where they were at. So, we're going to find out sooner or later what this person believed. And I have no doubt in my mind that Utah is in a woke state, and we're going to find out what this person believes. So everyone will not have any questions, and what this person believed and why he was doing what he was doing. Again, I say it's he because they keep saying gunmen. So
Roman, do you think that that's a ploy that is used to throw people off? And I say that because of what happened in where was it, Minnesota? This past shooting where this trans had a cryptic Russian journal, and people were saying, oh, maybe this is tied to the 3-letter agencies that are trying to cause some sort of rift between the American people and the Russians, and trying to instill hate in the Americans towards that country. And do you think honestly that there is these types of things that happen, Roman, that to divert from the real people, from the real cause or reason for the reason that this happened?
I try not to believe in conspiracies. I try not to do that. I try not to believe that stuff, okay? Because if we do that, we're going down a rabbit hole, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I just don't. And thank you, Sam. I really appreciate it. Somebody complimented me on my polos, my cowboy polo the other day, and I felt, oh, cool, thank you. It's like, you always have the best polos. Oh, thank you. I don't think he was being facetious, so buddy.
I'll wear Cowboys gear the day after a win. It's either polo Monday or Cowboy. I'm gonna wear Cowboys gear after. It's either gonna be on Monday, on a Tuesday. Yeah, only after they win, because they've given me so many heartaches and pain these past few years, and I think it's only fair. I do believe in conspiracy theories. I do believe in going down rabbit holes. I do believe that the majority, and I know I'm going to get in trouble, the majority of what's happening with these gun violence is designed in a way to bring up that discussion of gun violence and having government control over us. I know we can go on and on and on, but I do tend to think that there is stuff like that out there.
I mean, you had AOC, not little AOC, big AOC, yesterday in front of the Capitol talking about
who's little safety. AOC? Linda Macias?
Yeah, I want to make it clear I'm talking about big AOC, not little AOC. Okay, I want to make sure the original AOC, like the original tribal chief. Anyway, OTC. She was talking about gun safety, and we talk about gun safety. We deplore the political violence, but we need to really talk about gun safety, and it's the right that preventing gun safety. And I'm just like, oh, the left, they're trying to talk about gun safety when they don't want to use the word, the phrase gun control, because that's what they're doing. No, this isn't a gun issue. This isn't a gun violence issue. This is a flat out political violence issue. This is a leftist violence issue. That is what's happening in this country. And I know there are individuals that only want to point to January 6th as though that is the begin all of American history. Nothing happened before that. They want to pretend that nothing ever happened in our country prior to January 6th. That is the start of the political violence in our country. It is the worst day in history. And I'm just like, guys, do you want to forget about all the political violence that was and the rioting and things that was happening throughout our country in the summer of 2020? Where were you all when that was happening? All right, I'm sorry. That was mostly peaceful protesting. It's like, and people like myself, conservatives like myself, that were appalled by what the events that occurred in January 6th, we get attacked no matter what we believe, whether we get attacked by people on the right who say, I can't believe that you don't understand that January 6th was an inside job. I don't want to believe in those rabbit holes. And, there was some violence that occurred on January 6th. I'm not going to deny that, but it didn't look good for those people to be, climbing up climbing the walls and scaling the walls and, punching. It did not look good. It was wrong. It was bad. And I'm going to call it out for what it is. But I will also say at the same time, some of the reaction by law enforcement towards some of the grandfathers that were doing, walking around like they were in a freaking museum, I don't think they should have been punished with years and years and years of the federal prison. And I think this president was correct in pardoning those individuals. But there was political violence that occurred prior to January 6th. You just want to turn the blinders eye to all that? Come on now. I mean, that's not right. So
you spoke about the update, Roman. Let's
let's talk about the update.
Let's hear what they have to say.
Sure.
Through all that work last night, we were able to make a few breakthroughs. We were able to track the movements of the shooter. Starting at 11:52 a.m., the subject arrived on campus, shortly away from campus. We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location. After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood. Our investigators have worked through those neighborhoods, contacting anybody they can with doorbell cameras, witnesses, and have thoroughly worked through those communities, trying to identify any leads. We do have good video footage of this individual. We are not going to release that at this time. We are working through some technologies and some ways to identify this individual. If we are unsuccessful, we will reach out to you as the media and we will push that publicly to help us identify them. But we're confident in our abilities right now, and we would like to move forward in a manner that keeps everyone safe and moves this process appropriately. Last night, I communicated with Erica. The family's devastated. As a commissioner of public safety, as a father, as a husband, I can only imagine what that family's going through. The heinous event that happened yesterday is not Utah. This is not what we're known for. Over the past several weeks, we've seen the state come together to help families in mourning, come together as a community to show what Utah is known for a state of character, of service, of camaraderie, of a neighboring feel. We will not stand for what happened yesterday. We are exhausting every lead. We have every officer invested in this, every investigator, every local agency. The outpouring of support from the law enforcement community has been astounding.
So they're tracking him. Apparently they know who he is. And there was, you did mention, Roman, that there was this what was it? Bullets with
messages.
With messages. that were stating what against the trans movement.
No,
That,
no. We don't know. They haven't released it. That's just what Fox News was reporting. That they have messages and they understand that there was messages on the weapon that was found. I would, fairly, like what happened with the tranny that murdered those two beautiful children in a Catholic church while they were having mass and injured countless others, children and staff at that church. And you saw this manifesto in the video on YouTube, which we're not going to play here because I think it was taken down and there's no reason to post it up there. But he had messages on his weapons and things like that, clearly indicating his political bent and why he was doing what he was doing on top of this on top of his manifesto and diary or whatever he had. So I'm assuming that I don't think they have like a manifesto for the guy yet, but definitely guns and whatnot, messages on those things.
Yeah, Betty Johnson reported that ATF internal memos reportedly revealed the weapon used to eliminate Charlie Kirk yesterday at the Utah Valley University held bullets engraved with transgender and anti-fascist slogans. The suspect fired one shot from an elevated position on a rooftop in an adjacent building on the campus, and surveillance video shows the suspect jumping off and fleeing the area on foot. ATF and other law enforcement located an older model imported Mauser .30 .06 caliber bolt action rifle wrapped in a towel in a wooded area near their campus. The location of the firearm appears to match the suspect's route of travel. The spent cartridge was still chambered, in addition to 3 unspent rounds at the top fed magazine. All cartridges have engraved wording on them expressing transgender and anti-fascist ideology. The firearm is being disassembled for more information where it was obtained. Crazy stuff. So then possibly was somebody that was upset.
Of course. I mean, we're not morons. I mean, I think it was very clear why they were targeting Charlie. I mean, quacks like a duck, it walks like a duck. It's probably a freaking duck, but, I don't think we're getting ahead of the story by talking about, why this is going on and, praising Charlie the way we've been praising him. You talked earlier about, that he was targeting the youth or using the youth and really talking to the youth. And people are fearful of that. There's a lot to be said. I mean, if you look at Chinese history in China, Chinese history in China, obviously Chinese. Communist, the communist history in China that started with Mao Zedong and what he did and how he was able to use the youth to go after Chiang Kai-shek and become the People's Republic of China. The youth gravitated towards him. Later on, when he had full control of China, he then targeted the youth again and reminded the youth, hey, that we're going to do this and report your parents to what they're doing so he could find out. So Pol Pot was a teacher, if I'm not mistaken, an actual teacher. And so people gravitated towards him in southeastern China. People are fearful of when the youth are being not talked to and convinced. And I believe the left was losing the battle for the youth. They were concerned that young men were now understanding their role in life and wanting to have children. Well, I mean, just look at what Charlie said on Laura Ingraham on Monday night. I saw that. And he made a very compelling argument that there's a fertility issue in our country because you have young men who want to start a family, who want to get married and build for their family and have a job and, live the American dream, why picket fence, all that stuff, right? And we have a fertility issue because you have women who don't want to do that in their 20s. They don't even want to do that in their 30s in some instances. They just don't want to. And then by the time they realize they want to have kids, it's very difficult to have kids. And it is hurt the way the family goes and the way society goes when you have people who are in their 40s trying to have kids and they have kids. Well, guess what? You're not necessarily going to live very much longer. I mean, we know people that have died in their mid 50s. My grandfather died when he was in his early 50s. If he became a dad when he was in the early 40s, you're not going to be able to raise the children, and then it causes problems because the men aren't around to be able to raise those children, and then you have a lot of families with fatherless kids, and then they don't necessarily build the community you want or the society you want. And that is the argument that Charlie was saying and what young men are seeing and understanding. And that is something that the left cannot stand because they believe they have indoctrinated the coming generation, the up and coming, and they're losing it. Because when you have young men in their 20s realizing this, or even talk about in the Valley in South Texas, you have Hispanic men that are gravitating to the Republican Party. I've been saying this for years. I've had these discussions with Erasmo on his podcast for years, how men are the future of the Republican Party, because especially Hispanic men, because they are traditional men who understand that they need to provide for their family and they need to be able to have jobs and do all these things if they're able to, and provide for their children. And the ideas that the left is espousing is not that. And so they're going to gravitate towards somebody like Trump, which is why that is the future. And that, I think, scares the left, and that scares Democrats, and that scares people who are Hispanic that comment on people's pages, and they're leftists, and they're offended that you have people like Myra Flores, you have people like myself, you have people like you, Frankie, people like Erasmo and others who are Hispanics that have decided we're going to be Republicans. We're going to be conservative Republicans and not Democrats. We don't belong to you, the Democratic Party. We don't belong to you. And how dare you? And they're losing it. But right now, the cultural battle is being lost by the left, and they can't take it. And so now they're going to violence. Not everybody. I'm not saying every leftist is doing this or every Democrat is doing this. But you cannot tell me that some of the language that the left is saying, the Democratic leaders, you had a sitting U.S. senator, Tuesday night on TV, one of the cable news channels, saying that, you have to take matters into your own hands for the sake of democracy. And it's like, dude, saying those things are like, shh. In this environment, you don't think there's some crazy people out there, like, crazy people on TikTok who are like, oh, they're talking to me. Oh my God, we're fearful. We're all going to die. They're going after me. They're killing me. Why do you think that we had similar discussions when this tranny decided to shoot up kids in Minnesota? We've talked about these things because they're listening to crazy talk from the left, and they think the leftist leaders are talking to them. What didn't we have an individual that read The Catcher in the Rye, and they believed that the author of Catcher in the Rye was talking to them, and so they go around and murder somebody? Didn't that happen to John Lennon? Am I wrong on that? Did somebody think that? I mean, people read things that they shouldn't be reading into it, and they go out and do stupid stuff. They're mentally ill. And unfortunately, we have leaders within the Democratic Party who say stupid things, and this kind of stuff happens, and it's wrong. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe somebody can tell me about the Catcher in the Rye. I know there was somebody read it, and I want to say it was a John Lennon thing, but I could be completely wrong on that. Do you remember any of that? Catcher in the Rye?
You make an interesting point about the youth, and there has been for the past what was it? Maybe possibly when Obama came into the presidency, where we had this shift, this wokeness, how many of the conservative ideologies or beliefs were kind of put on the back burner, and now this liberal movement started to play out in the forefront. We saw how There was a rainbow at the White House. There was these LGBTQ events where before it was something that was unheard of. Many people, I think, who was it? Somebody spoke earlier about DEI, how many women or minorities received positions. We have who is it? Jackson Roman, our Supreme Court justice, who many questioned her. I think she even has colleagues on that bench, judges that are questioning, is she really capable of, fulfilling her duties as Supreme Court justice? Was this a DEI appointment by the Biden administration? Now that you say it, it kind of makes sense. Where now the conservatives have seen all this and say, look what has transpired. There is this idea, Roman, that trans are being radicalized. They're saying, look, you need to take action into your hands. You need to, you need to push back. You need to take action. And even though a small percentage of gun violence has been through the transgender community, now it's becoming a norm. Where before we didn't see that before. Before, shootings were more white males that were, white nationalists that had these Aryan Brotherhood beliefs. Well, now we're starting to see a whole different side of the spectrum. Maybe we are starting to see people that are starting to say, you know what, these democratic beliefs and ideologies that they're trying to shove down our throats, I don't believe in it. I want to go back to the old times, conservative movements. Maybe we are starting to see that happening in the real world, and maybe we could attribute something that like this, what happened yesterday, to Charlie, and say they want to take people out because they are rallying the youth. They are starting to say, hey, it's okay to have kids. It's okay to be married to a woman. It's okay to start a family. The liberal movement doesn't want that. They want to focus on their beliefs, their agendas moving forward.
It's really a interesting, scary day, man. I know I don't feel like I'm talked out. I don't feel like I'm there yet, but I think we would be remiss if we don't talk a little bit about 9/11 and what this day means to people. People my age, there are people right now that are alive that never experienced 9/11. I mean, obviously my kids haven't. They don't really understand it. And I was listening to President Trump's speech at the Pentagon today, and he opened up with talking about Charlie Kirk, but then he went into reminding people what happened on that day on 9/11. And I think each and every one of you should listen to what he had to say. Even if you don't agree with the president, but remember that day when people called their loved ones, cell phones were still in its infancy. There was no iPhones or anything like that. But there were some cell phones. People called their loved ones and said goodbye to them, and they still have those voicemails. And I still remember, not knowing what was happening when I woke up that morning. How old were you, Frankie, when 9/11 happened? Is that okay? We talk a little bit about that?
I was 14, 15. I was a freshman. I was in athletics where I think we were lifting weights, and then they said, everybody come to the TV. The Twin Towers collapsed. I'm like, what the hell is the Twin Towers? I had no idea what was going on. And for the rest of the next, I think, day or two, we were just stuck to the TV. And I remember feeling this sort of pride, feeling this sort of, man, like I'm an American. And I did cry. I remember I did shed tears because I remember, Roman, watching people jump because they were burning. The thing was going to collapse. And that was kind of engraved in my mind. And I was just like, whoa, like this is very real. And then you also spoke about previously about the Queen Isabella Causeway. We thought that was a terror attack. That was what, a week after or a couple of days after, if I'm not mistaken.
5 days. 4 days. 15th of September.
So a few days after, and we didn't know what happened. Again, this was shortly after midnight, after 2 a.m., where a boat, barged and hit into the causeway, and we didn't know what to expect. There was numerous casualties, of double-digit casualties, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
And it was just a time of uncertainty. Are we being attacked again? Is South Texas being hit? Why South Padre? It's just very surreal. And I can 9/11 is what the older generation lived during the JFK, during Kennedy, when he was assassinated in Dallas. They could tell you where they were. They could tell you that they heard it on the radio. And that was my JFK moment, where I can tell you where I was, what I did, how I felt. It's just one of those things that I'll never forget, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the reason I think it's apropos to if we're American. I'm a great American, actually. I'm an awesome, fantastic American. I'm brown, but I'm an awesome American. Frankie, you're brown too, and you're an awesome American. You're a great American. I think we're allowed to say that. No, but what happened in September 11th and now is September 11th was an opportunity to go into the Middle East and go after terrorism and go after religious radical fanatics in the Middle East and in Afghanistan. And that's what 9/11 ended up doing. And I don't want to talk about the causes and whether the mass weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. No, I'm not go there. Maybe we can discuss that some other day if you want to, but not right now. And so there is people right now on the left that, MSNBC was sort of talking about this yesterday. Like, well, the president going to use this as an opportunity to go after people because of it? And like, yes. I think because he's tired of it. And I'm not smiling because I'm happy about it. I'm just like telling you, yes, he's going to do that because he has no choice. There's terrorism, domestic terrorism happening in our country right now. And he has to put a stop to it. And he's obviously against crime. And I think that's, this is a different version of a 9/11 because you're having domestic terrorism in our country. It's not foreign terrorists like what happened in 9/11, you're having domestic terrorism. And I think the president's going to use every ounce, every strand, every piece of the federal government, the federal bureaucracy to go after these trans terrorists and those that support them. I think he was clear as day in that 4-minute speech what he is going to do. And we have to understand that. He doesn't have a choice because it's too much. We have had children be murdered, not just in Minnesota. We had trans terrorists in Tennessee in some Christian school. You have had people that are targeted because of their Jewish belief. I think there was somebody, Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, I think he was attacked. Because of him being a Jew and not supporting the Palestinian cause and being a rational Democrat, and he was attacked. I mean, there's a lot of it happening in our country. You have people who are fearful because from anti-Semitism running rampant in our college campuses. So he is going to do what he needs to do, and the left is just going to have to understand that it's going to happen. That's an interesting, very interesting political
Picture?
political cartoon, satire.
Because there was on NBC yesterday, Roman, that the commentator said, oh, maybe it was one of his supporters shooting in celebration. It's like, really? I think they fired that individual. He was a political contributor to MSNBC.
You mean Matthew Dowd, the former Republican, a guy who ran for lieutenant governor? By the way, he has me blocked on Twitter. I don't know. I think I've ever talked about Matthew Dowd.
Was it him?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who it was, but
It was Matthew
they did,
Dowd. Yeah.
I'm not sure who it was, but there was also. It seems as if it's always MSNBC for some strange reason. They always.
What? You're shocked? Really?
Well, yes and no. I'm shocked at how they would. I would think that they would tread lightly, especially with what happened. And again, the reason why it was so vivid is because of that video that everyone saw of Charlie being assassinated, and the media, unfortunately, is allowing for many people to say, he deserved it. It's crazy. It really is. But I think this is the new world that we live in, unfortunately.
He made you angry. The guy actually said, we don't know if it was somebody in the crowd who was celebratory and shooting up a gun in the air. We don't know if that's why he was killed or something. That's what Matthew Dowd said, essentially, on MSNBC yesterday.
Yeah.
And,
Crazy.
people are just like, yeah, you should fire him. You think MSNBC really cares about a former Republican that's now a liberal? They don't care about them. Do you think they would have fired him if he wasn't a former Bush strategist? I mean, I don't think they would have. If some there've been some crazy things said on MSNBC that have not been fireable. But oh well, he should have been fired. He should have been fired almost immediately. And people are happy about it, and I, for one, am happy about it as well. I don't agree with the cancel movement, but he said some really stupid things, and stay stupid things, win stupid prizes, I guess is the saying, is it not? What about all the children at school who expects their children to be gunned down? No, I agree. No one should expect their child to be not come home when you send them to school. But right now, the targeting seems to come from individuals who are mentally ill. And only one side of the political spectrum, the conservative side, is actually willing to say that it's mentally ill. And unfortunately, you have the people on the left who won't say it's mental illness. They think it's normal. They can think it's completely acceptable and normal for a man to pretend that they're a woman. And have a girlfriend or boyfriend. I don't know what they called each other. Partner. Stupid ass word. That's a furry. Whatever the hell that is. Mental illness is there. It's real. Only one side wants to talk about it. And it's definitely not the left.
Yeah, I think it's just crazy what's been happening. And unfortunately, this is gonna be our new norm, Roman, moving forward, where people don't know how to have debates. People don't know how to respect others' beliefs. Again, Charlie never promoted violence. He never condoned shootings. He never said, hey, this needs to happen. He never did.
FBI Salt Lake City has a picture that they're asking the public's help in identifying this person of interest in connection with the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk. So they do have an image that they're posting, and it's on the Twitter X feed of the FBI Salt Lake City. If you want to see it and post it so people could see it, then you can do that if you want to.
Yeah, let me look for it. That way we can stay up to date with what is transpiring.
If you think you might know this person, he's wearing glasses. He looks to having a long sleeve shirt that's black with what appears to be an American flag on the chest, a blue hat. There is an FBI tip line. So when we post a picture, if you think you may know this person, because again, this is YouTube, Facebook, anybody could be watching. You're not necessarily just in Brownsville. You are encouraged to call the FBI tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI. So yeah, this is a picture of one individual, the person of interest. Let's just assume this person of interest is the person that legitimately committed the crime. That's why they did it.
I'm surprised it took them this long, Roman.
I think they had this relatively quickly yesterday. They just haven't released it because they want to see what they can find out about the person. That's what I'm going to assume. And I think even the video you played earlier, pretty much done it. So yeah, if you want to zoom in a little bit so people can see, that's just, I guess, the person they believe it is. It is all over the news. I mean, they have a lot of good video. That's what the commissioner said. And I think you played that video. They haven't, and I recall them saying something about stairwells, that they had him going up a stairwell or something. So I'm assuming that this is who this person is, the person that they think did it. I think they probably have video. They probably have video evidence of it. And I mean, if you looked at that video from OSIN Technical, when they were, doing that panoramic and you saw the person running, it was far away. This person looks like that person with the shadows and stuff. I'm not saying he's Bigfoot or anything, but that I think that's, I think it's pretty safe to say that this is who they're looking for, that they believe this is the individual that was running on the roof. Yeah.
Going to be interesting to see what they find out about him. Why
100%.
do you think it took so long, Roman? Because again, they had two in custody, from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then they released them, and then we were like, oh gosh, like that's not a good look. Whenever they say they have somebody, and then oh no, never mind, it's not who we thought he was. I guess in these types of investigations, they're very thorough as possible. But is it alarming for them to get access to all these cameras and things like that? And of course, it takes time, right? But is it alarming for them to take so long in order for them to have a suspect? Usually, in my opinion, they would be quicker, wouldn't they?
Again, I would say so, yes. But the guy had a plan, right? I mean, he did what he must have been. I don't know how long this particular event had been planned. This person probably went out there saying, I'm going to do this, and knew where he was going to go. I knew where he's going to leave his vehicle. He knew where the neighborhood was going to go, and he had to have a plan. He's not going to automatically assume that he's going to be killed immediately, like what would happen with that person that tried to assassinate the then former president, now current president, and Butler. He had to have an escape route, and he probably figured this is what I'm going to do. He's wearing glasses to cover his eyes so people can't see his eyes. You really can't see very much. He covered his arm probably to disguise any potential tattoos he may have on there, to blend into the crowd. Look, he's wearing an American thing. To blend in, like, oh, I'm an American, America. That's probably what he did. I don't know if he might not have interacted with anybody. The FBI or the commissioner that did the press conference on that you played earlier, I don't think he said anything about they have video of him conversing with anybody at the event. Do you think he would have conversed with anybody? He probably just went in and do a job, and they don't want to talk to anybody. No witnesses, kind of stuff. He's wearing a hat. He have his short hair, so can blend in easier than having somebody with long hair. The person was able to pull off one shot and hit his target. That to me is amazing. Not amazing in a good way. Amazing, like shockingly, like wow. Not everybody, I don't think, can pull that off. And this guy did. So he may have, experience in shooting weapons. Who knows? Maybe this guy is a former military guy. I don't know. It's just interesting. I can't hear you.
There were
Oh,
questions
sorry.
as to yeah, no, I was on the phone.
Oh,
There were
sorry.
you're fine. There were questions as to if Charlie was wearing uh, a vest. Many people stated that whenever somebody shoots, that they usually shoot for the head. A marksman, a
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
skilled trained marksman. They always teach them to um, shoot to kill. Many people alluded to the fact that maybe this person wanted blood. Maybe he wanted a scene. Maybe he wanted because whenever again, I'm not an expert in no way, but I would think that if a headshot would kind of just take Charlie back and maybe even aim for the artery. But many people allude to the fact that this person possibly was an excellent marksman. They questioned possibly what background he had. Maybe he was an infantry. Maybe he was a military. Maybe he was a hunter, a very skilled hunter. I think the distance from the shot to where Charlie was under the tent, it was around 200 yards. Many people allude to the fact that it's not that difficult to shoot someone from that range. But it just goes to show it's going to be interesting what they find out about this individual. Many people are also alluding to the fact that this is bigger, than what we may find. That I find it very weird how whenever they were arresting that old man, Roman, I don't know if you
Saw the video? Yeah.
if you saw the video, he
Mhm.
started saying, "Shoot me, shoot me, shoot me," and he had his pants down. And many people alluded to the fact that this is a diversion. They're giving time for the real shooter to go away because somebody was saying an old man is not
Mm.
capable of climbing a roof. An old man is not capable of being up in the heat for so long and able to focus. And so many people have alluded to the fact that this is big, that this is more than one person. But again, only time will tell.
That's a fascinating thing. Like, that's odd. I saw the video, but I'm deaf. I didn't hear him say those things. But I'm gonna have to trust you on that one, Frankie. Wow.
Yeah, let me look for it. And I think they even gave his name and everything.
Yeah, let's not do that because I don't want people to go attack the man if he had nothing to do with it and he was just there. I mean, he was arrested, he was released. He's probably gonna sue people, because of what happened to him. But yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
there was they're playing the video on Fox News, a video that I was talking to you about before. And I'm not gonna play the video. I'm just gonna, see, the words because they do the captioning on it. So I'll read it what he was saying. I think it's an important video that happened and explain what Charlie did. And I'm probably gonna have to let you go because I just got a text message that I need to call my wife. So I have to call my wife in about 5 minutes. Yeah, it's like, some lady's asking him, why are you doing this? And he says it's important to our country to find our disagreements respectfully because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens. And she said, I've never seen anybody do that. Well, it's a growing trend, he says, because people like me are facing violence from who? The left. The left? Question? Yes. Campus Antifa. I've been stormed out of restaurants. I've been assaulted publicly, multiple death threats. Okay, so what's the goal of all this? She says. There's a lot more people that agree with me than some people who actively or believe against me. When you do stuff that we record all of it so that we put it out for people to see. When these people ideas, when people stop talking, that's when that's when civil war starts because you think you start not thinking about the other person and you start thinking of them as evil. They lose their humanity. I'm talking a little bit fast, so I'm trying to read it for everybody. I think that's an important statement. I think that is who Charlie was. And, I think it's horrible what happened to him. And I hope they find this person. I hope they find out everything they can about this person. If there's anybody tied to him, was he a lone person? I hope they do everything they can, because it's a very, very important thing to find out the truth. And I think Fred made something like what did Fred say? Something, it doesn't benefit our country to place blame without having all the facts. The left, you don't have all the facts. You don't have it all. We have enough. We have enough. Like, when is all the facts? Define all. Come on now. Like, we kind of know. We're not stupid. We're not morons.
Yeah. Again, yesterday was just a sad day. We had casualties. We had children casualties, and then we also had a live assassination. That was very, very sad. Moving forward, this will not deter people like myself to not speak on the important subjects. We'll continue to do so.
I'm laughing at what Toker wrote.
Yeah.
Toker.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. Remember, we will come on before you Monday to Friday at 9 a.m. Shortly thereafter. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. Make sure that you have a good Thursday. Tune in tomorrow. Peace.
Sports.